Bender right side play for Vargas. On the counter, Vargas takes a shot off the back of a defender. Settled for Bender. It's Westwood with a shot. He scores! A worldie of their own for Ashley Westwood! His first stateside goal equalizes for the Crown!
It's a goal that has been brewing from the Englishman. It's an exceptional finish from Ashley Westwood.
Charlotte Soccer Show, John Hayes, Danny Brams. That was our friends Will Pelagic and Jessica Charman on WFNZ. A stunner from the Gemstone, Danny Brams, on a Saturday night at the Keep. What a goal that was.
The captain, the Englishman. High T. Of course, Jess Charman with a goal that has been brewing. You know, she made the T reference she had been saving that one up for a while, and it was a goal that was brewing. John, great to see you tonight. Great to be here after a 3-3 draw. We did an episode earlier this year that was when a draw feels like a loss. And this one, we can tentatively title it at least when a draw feels like a win. Maybe the sister episode, the companion episode to that one. Because
there's some disagreement there. That's why I didn't name it that, because there's
yeah. I don't know if it is the name, but it could be the name. That's what I'm saying. It's a candidate.
Our friend Tug Speedman, one of the Tifos, he says that it was a draw that felt like a loss. Danny, he said that on social today. We appreciate everybody's engagement at For the Crown Baby. Find us there on Twitter. Join the show. Drop yourselves in the comments tonight on tonight's Sunday night live stream. Back at it on Sunday nights after a 3-3 draw that felt like a draw. I'll land.
Okay, can we settle there? Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I'll land things in the middle. So cheers. Hi, what's up, Bridget? Hey, Greg. Thanks for joining the live stream tonight. And Patrick Agyemang, Danny Brams. He's somebody that I want to talk about. I'd love to talk to him on the show too. But would like to talk about Agyemang and the fact that he scored the equalizer and played for Crown Legacy today. Did you see that, Danny?
Yeah. And he scored for Crown Legacy. Scored 2 goals on the weekend in 2 different leagues. What an absolute stud. I mean, Patrick Agyemang, the legend.
Did I see that was the first time ever that someone scored a goal in MLS and MLS Next Pro in the same weekend? I believe it was the first time in history that's ever happened.
Off the top of my head, it has to be, because last year was the first year ever of MLS Next Pro, and no other MLS Next Pro team is as liberal, moving guys up and down between the 2 ranks as Charlotte FC. I say inventive. I say strategic.
That put things into perspective for me, Danny, just to think about like the way that Charlotte is using Crown Legacy. I don't mind being different using Crown Legacy in this way, as long as that uniqueness leads to a culture of winning and it doesn't burn out young players who are being asked to play on back-to-back match days. That's something pretty rare that you don't see a lot when it comes to professional soccer. Am I wrong there, Danny? When's the last time you've seen something like that?
Ben Bender did it right for the Crown Legacy opener. He subbed in the night before.
I'm talking outside of Charlotte FC.
Yeah. I've never seen outside of Charlotte FC. Agyemang played 15 minutes for the Crown on Seattle, had the equalizer goal, and then came on and started for Crown Legacy. And I've never seen it, to be honest. I don't think we're going to see it that often, but for now it's working for Charlotte FC.
So this was last night.
Charlotte trying to equalize. Bronico ahead for Gaines. Gaines has it just outside the area, trying to turn around and pirouette with it. Back outside the area, Bronico. It's Burns. It's into the area. Back post header. He scores! It's Patrick Agyemang!
That's Willie P on the call. WFNZ
I love it. You
again.
can see that passion, this pure passion from Willie P right there.
Yeah, he's pumped. Everyone was pumped about the equalizer, and that's last night, but this is today.
In the center circle. Flipping it back out. Headed away is Lapkus. And now an open net. Oh! Charlotte taking advantage. And Crown Legacy a 1-0 lead. Left an open net for Crown Legacy.
I mean, it
Absolutely
was
incredible.
It was a goal into an open net from Agyemang less than 24 hours later. Underneath the bar, it was just silky and smooth. And Lenny C chimes in and says, what does he say, Danny?
He says size does make a difference, with a little sly emoji there. I think he, the more formal version of size matters there. I don't know, man. Agyemang's sick. He's looking like Lucas Zelarayan there, scoring from near midfield on a keeper off his line. I think the young man can do it. If we listen to his quotes, I don't know if you want to cue those up right now or wait for another couple minutes, but Agyemang is the conversation right now. Agyemang is everything in Charlotte FC's world because he's the young starlet. He's the draft pick. He's such a physically imposing presence on the field that you can't miss him when you're in the stands. He scored the equalizer. He's kind of leapfrogged. We already talked about this on the show, and now this last night and this weekend kind of cements it. He started alongside Vinny Mello today for the legacy, but as far as which guy's coming up to the first team, it's Agyemang who's got to be choice ahead of Vinny Mello at this point, right?
There's no doubt about it, because it's been a storyline, Danny. If you think back, Christian Lattanzio deserves a lot of credit for bringing a guy like Patrick Agyemang along. It's somebody who, when you think back to the Philadelphia game, was put in there in that second half, and then he gets his first start of the season against Columbus, and we know that story. It didn't go well. He was taken off at halftime, and then now he's in this super sub role once again. He scores the goal, he gets the touch, and the confidence is just absolutely oozing, and it's through the roof. You go to MLS Next Pro, you get a goal the next day. This club has done an unbelievable job bringing this young striker along, and with an injury to Enzo Capetti, who, by the way, said he was back. Didn't see him last night at the Fortress.
He was back in training. Back-ish,
For this club to look within and develop a striker to fill that void, someone who contributes to the match from a homegrown player, is pretty cool.
Yeah, and I love it. And it really, like, our friend of the show, friend of the club, president of the club, Joe LeBlue, put it very well in a thread this morning on Twitter. Joe's Sunday morning thoughts have always become something I look forward to. I love when JC LeBlue has that morning cup of Joe and fires off a few tweets after a big impactful match. So he talked about how it went back to the last match, like you said, and the Agyemang starting against Columbus, getting subbed off. Westwood's quote after the fact, I believe we still have that. Do we? No, we don't have it. But what he said about how we apologize to Patrick for not setting him up to succeed in his first start, and then now Westwood comes and gets his first goal in the match, and then Agyemang gets his first goal in the match, and both of them are equalizers in the second half, and just like it really starts to feel like in a team that's had a lot of bad luck and hard luck and shit situations at times, and even Lattanzio was getting on the refs last night and saying the ref had a bad game. Things have seemed to have gone against us at times. Things are starting to align when Westwood and Agyemang are clicking, and Carroll's making insane plays, and Jaylin Lindsay, the homegrown, is scoring goals, and things are feeling nice. I want to say everyone in the comments right now is commenting on Ben Bender, and we're going to get to Ben Bender. We have a few more thoughts on Agyemang here, but there's a huge Ben Bender segment of this episode coming up in a couple of minutes, so stick with us tight on there for sure.
After the match, this was Patrick Agyemang.
Even with the draw, is that something that you can build on as a group moving forward?
Yeah, I think the main thing is take the positives. In this game, there's a game every week, every other week or so. So you always want to bounce back. And I think this game, although there was a couple of mistakes in terms of conceding goals, we were attacking today. And we had a good attacking style today. You saw we were pressing, we were creating chances. And I think for us as a team, that's a positive. And our main thing is creating chances. And I think we did a lot tonight.
I think, Danny, Agyemang is showing us a little bit of inside information there. I think if you listen closely, you can hear him talk about creating chances and that being the goal for this club right now. And it's pretty obvious to me that Christian Lattanzio right now is preaching with this squad to create chances. And that's something that you today in your rewatch noted while watching the match, the amount of chances created.
Yeah, it's just like, I need to see the numbers to really back up my anecdotal evidence, I guess. But when you compare the team of what we were doing in the first month or so of the season with just numerous, like copious amounts of back passing and resetting constantly and moving things around nonstop, like, and never really going after the goal. And then what I saw last night, which was just crosses into the box, constantly sending. And a lot of these are not quality chances. Like, I agree, like, we could always improve the quality of our chances and the clinicalness of our finishing. Every fan will tell you that. But what the it's really Miram. I really think it's Miram and Kerwin Vargas, and Yushviak was doing it too before he got hurt. But just like this, like, commitment to like get the ball in the box and like quit trying to like create the perfect goal and just send balls into the box and see what happens. Things start coming off rebounds. Westwood's goal came from an attack that was really well put together, but got broken up, and then we won a second ball and quickly turned it back around. So like stuff like it didn't come directly from a ball sent into the box, but it was off a secondary move off of a ball that was sent into the box after we had quickly regained possession off of a rebound. So it's like, just start doing that stuff and stuff happens. I mean, I don't know if it's a coaching kind of like philosophy change or just more chemistry and connection. But, you know, as our boy Keegan says, when they play forward with pace, they can be dangerous. And I saw a lot of forward with pace last night. There was our defensive lapses sucked because Roldan's goal never should have happened, and Rui Diaz's second goal in the back post never should have happened. But I loved the wide open soccer. I loved getting to see 6 goals at the Fortress. It was a hell of a night.
It certainly was, and the only reason it becomes a great night is because of the 3 goals scored. Because on the other side of this, Danny, I think a worthwhile note to make on this show is that Seattle did score 3 goals as well, and you never really want to give up 3 goals at home anytime. Doesn't really matter if it ends in a draw. 3 goals at home is obviously not what this team
what we're built for,
is striving for.
Well, we can get into the where was Guzman Carujo of it all. Do you think it's just not risking with him? Do you think it's possible he's had a setback that we don't know about, like in his rehab and recovery, or do you think it's just extreme caution and care to make sure he's 1,000,000,000% healthy when he finally starts a match?
No, I think it's extreme caution and care. But the lack of confidence in starting him on Saturday against a team that he would have, I think, done well against is certainly a head scratcher. But I think you can look towards this 10-day break and tell yourself, well, Charlotte FC isn't playing for 10 days, and now without Guzman playing last night, he's got potential to really come back on the backside of this break and be a everyday player for Charlotte FC. That's ultimately the goal, isn't it? Because this back line needs to be dealt with, because ultimately at this point in the season, it's the Achilles heel for sure, Danny. It's the reason why you score 3 goals at home and you have to equalize every time. The Crown didn't even have the lead at any point in this match on Saturday against Seattle. So that's a certain way that you can look at it. And Keegan makes a great point. That's right, Keegan. That's the point I'm trying to make here. Is 3 goals at home needs to be enough to take 3 points. And even though it was only a point, I think at least it's not a loss. And that's how you have to look at this, right? It could have been no points.
It's a well-earned point. You know, it's a point that'll get us along the way for sure. We put up JPP's comment also there, 33 goals conceded. We only had 52 all of last year, so we're well on our way here, you know, around the halfway point of the season to significantly more than that. I want to bring up, since you bring up the back line, I want to show a little bit of what we did, and we'll first check the ratings here. And I didn't really realize this while I was in the stadium, but when I came back on a rewatch and when I started to watch highlights, I was like, wait, is Bronico and Jones both on the back line? I start seeing this, and I'm thinking to myself, we're in a 5-4-1. That's what SofaScore called it, and that's pretty much the way it played out when I was not completely sauced watching it with a more analytical eye this afternoon. But you look, and Bronico and Jones were kind of slotting in. And so you see them all. The ratings don't look good. They're all rated below 7, except for Lindsay, who got the goal to bring him up above 7. But no one on the back line really earned a great rating. Byrne had the assist and couldn't even get a 7. And then I bring up like the defender heat maps, and we can maybe sort of look at like what Jones and Bronico were doing. They were playing midfield, but also center back. It was this really weird hybrid. I don't know what you thought of what you saw.
I'm taking a look at these heat maps now for the first time. And when we take a look at the ratings, which I have seen specifically, the thing that stood out to me is Brant Bronico, a 6.3 rating. Obviously not good enough and not necessarily a great match, but he did go the full 90, right? He gave you he gave you 90 minutes in a position that is a really tough position to play.
He was absolutely caught dead on the first goal that Seattle scored, off the quick reset free kick that Roldan snuck behind the defense, and that was also a little bit of a huge that was a mental lapse on the part of maybe even the captain. Kind of he committed a hard foul, almost got carded for it, then jawed at the ref for like 30 seconds walking backwards, and like really didn't have the whole team set up to receive that free kick. So unfortunately, Bronico looked the worst on it. But yeah, you see a lot of action from everybody, right?
Certainly. And Derek Jones, he goes the full 90 as well. And those two players, Brant Bronico and Derek Jones, are the two players that we've been discussing on the show, whether these two should be in the lineup together every single match. And when Derek Jones slots back into that center back role, you basically have a center defensive mid playing in that center back role, which allows Brant Bronico to stay on the field even with Ben Bender in the lineup. So I think it's a really offensive change is what this is for Charlotte FC, even though it looks like a 5 at the back, right? If you go back to that formation, and we can just talk about that 5 in the back again, but if you go and you think about it this way, where you actually have Bronico, Jones, Westwood, and Bender in the midfield there working together with Swiderski, Vargas, and Miram, it's actually more offensive with Derek Jones in that center back position, because Derek Jones was really wandering up the pitch. If you go back to that heat map, you can see
they played. You can see. Look how he's got red zones. He's got orange zones all across half field.
So he's an attacking center back. He's someone that's playing high on the pitch. Brant Bronico gives him some cover as well there. Not as much on the left side. A little bit of Jaylin Lindsay as well. But it's when you look at that heat map, you can tell that it's actually more offensive than you might think it would be.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's kind of the old Sheffield United center backs that were always sort of given freedom to bomb up. They were back before they got relegated out of the Premier League. It was fun to watch them. I might switch. Yeah, I might switch. Blades, baby, Blades. I love it. I might switch a little to the midfielders here, and we can talk about that and how it might have worked with the defenders if we kind of compare them. You see how with Lindsay and Byrne hugging the lines really hardcore, Vargas and Miram were free to sort of stay their biggest heats on the attacking half, which I love. I've bemoaned in the past when Vargas is getting a lot of his touches behind half field, and in this case it didn't happen. He was able to send a lot of crosses and start some attacks. Westwood is everywhere, obviously. Bender. This is where the conversation finally starts to shift to Ben Bender, because Ben Bender, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily – I don't know if that's his finest game ever in Charlotte colors. I think a couple games last year he was even better. But last night was a re-announcement of Ben Bender's presence in this team.
I didn't see it that way. I thought he was good. I
thought he was amazing.
I thought he was a player that injects, I think, confidence and front football into the lineup. That's what I'm trying to say. I don't think it's necessarily Ben Bender and his great performance. I just think you're utilizing that position in a different way when you have Bender and Swiderski working together with Ashley Westwood. Like, that's a really offensive-minded, front foot-minded, attacking style of play.
The people are with me, John. That's all I'm going to say. I brought up Brian Schulford's comment, Bender's tactical understanding. Bridget says leaps and bounds.
Right.
JPP, one of Bender's best game for us.
Go back to those ratings. I think his rating was a 6.5.
Here's the midfield. Yeah.
And really, the heat map is it's solid. It's impressive. He's in the areas that he should be. And I think that's ultimately the point, is like when you combine that to where Westwood is, it's very offensive. It's very front foot. He's playing inside Justin Miram right on, maybe a little bit further. Ben should be kind of towards the middle, because look at all that space that both Miram and Bender, they're both taking up on that left-hand side.
Since it's always worth looking back at goals, I'm going to play Westwood goal again, and let's see if this clip gets us all the way back, because this goal actually started from a deep defensive ball recovery from Bender. See that red dot on Bender's heat map there, right where at the at the top of our box, at the top of the defensive box.
Yeah.
That was essentially that red dot is him stealing the ball and setting up this play that set up Westwood's goal from the back.
Bender right side play for Vargas. On the counter. Vargas takes a shot off the back of a defender. Settled for Bender. It's Westwood with a shot. He scores! A world.
So you see, like that first pass of that clip is where Bender passes it to Ashley, and then Ashley sends it deep to Carroll. That was Bender's ball recovery. That was a standout moment for me. There were others. I just thought he was just.
Well, you forgot the best part of that play, that he sprinted and had the next touch about halfway up the field,
of course,
and then he had the final touch on the assist inside the box.
Yeah, and he hustled to get the rebound off Kerwin's shot, like I alluded to earlier.
It's a great call out. It's a great play by Ben Bender, and I think it's a change in attacking style. I think it's talking about Ben Bender is the perfect way to end that segment, which is thinking about exactly what Christian Lattanzio wants to do with that tactical change, with moving Derek Jones into that center back role. There's so much more open space and freedom in that central midfield for Ben Bender to cook. It's great to have the young kids involved in this squad. That's what we've always wanted, Danny. And when Ben Bender and Patrick Agyemang make an impact on a match, that's a very, very good night for Charlotte FC.
Yeah, I love the kids. What do you think about Brandon with the counterpoint of Foot Mob scoring Bender 7.6 as opposed to Sofa, and JPP with the anti-Sofa call out saying we should be using Foot Mob on this show? I don't know. Is that podcast business we need to discuss? Yeah. I'm not sure.
Sure. 7.6, 6.5. That is a point difference. But the kid has always done what? I don't need to be resold on Ben Bender being a good player. You can go back to the history of this podcast. That's why Mindy Bender loves the show. She's one of our TIFOs.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, I hope Mindy's watching right now or listening to the rebroad for sure.
Ben Bender is that start for him. We called it on the show last week. Number one,
that he should have started when he came in a half.
Yep. But we called it on the show that he was going to start in this match.
Yeah,
is what I'm saying.
Yep.
Called it. That was obvious to do. Christian Lattanzio knew, and because that's what Ben Bender does at home, and that's I think what the fan base should come to expect from this kid is that when he's injected into the lineup, he's not asked to really have any defensive responsibilities. He's asked to go out there and have fun and play front foot football, and that's why he's so lovable. What is it? Number top? He's definitely the top jersey seller when it comes to Charlotte FC kit sales.
Yeah, he's one of the top in the league, I believe,
and one of the top in the league. I think top 10 in the league as well. He's a kid for this squad, and I'll remind everybody once again, Patrick Agyemang, he's younger, and Kerwin Vargas, he's younger as well.
Yeah, Vargas younger than Bender is crazy to think about. The kids are all right, man. Camille is young. He's 20. Camille's 24. We could field an under 25 team that would be very, very competitive in an MLS U25 setting, I think.
Adilson Malanda, only 21 as well, younger than Ben Bender.
Yeah. Well, there we go. So Haggard, I haven't seen a ton of Haggard lately, but even he's in those young kid ranks. Let's look at what the Carroll and the wingers did real quick here, just to sort of finish the circle. And you see not a lot of red on Carroll's heat map. Not necessarily a man of the match performance in terms of like visible impact, but I mean the sublime, the toe tap straight up in the air to keep that ball in bounds and then dink it over to Lindsay for the goal was just, that's a world-class moment. And that's something that's a unicorn moment. Only Carroll can do that. Maybe a couple other guys on this team could do it. There's a very few in this league though, that really, I think could even make a play like that, and just the wisdom to try it. Off of another Westwood pass, that was another like fizzing over the top drop down ball from Ashley Westwood that Carroll was able to corral. Last week he made a goal out of it. This week he turned it into an assist. And I love Carroll. I don't care what the heat map says. He played in another amazing game.
Swiderski for the full 90. That's to me what sticks out in this graphic here. Justin Miram and Kerwin Vargas both come off the pitch. Typically are getting subbed out in most matches, but Karol Swiderski being asked to go the full 90 once again for Christian Lattanzio. He's going to play for Poland during this international break. I'm not sure, but I think he might miss the next match.
He is definitely going to miss the next match. The international break ends like the day before, but he'll be in transit. And I think it's well understood that he's not going to be playing against Red Bulls at Red Bulls. Should be back for the home match against Montreal on the 24th, which is a midweek match, I believe, right?
Yeah, so you got to give Christian Latanzio credit for getting Carroll in the game, playing him at striker, giving him a true number 10 in behind. It worked really well. He played the full 90, and now he's off to Poland to join up with Robert Lewandowski and some friends during these summer cups. I think, is it Nations League?
It might be Nations League. I have not followed the UEFA calendar closely enough. I think it's got to be Nations League. It might be early Euros. Maybe it's Euros qualifying. Maybe I'm off there. I'll have to double check that. Forgive me for not knowing, but I do know that one other thing that makes me laugh here as I look at this graphic before we say goodbye to it is if you look under each guy's name, sort of above the date where it says 10th June there in each guy's thing, you can see their follower count. And like Kerwin has 116 followers, Miriam has 308 followers, Carroll has 3,000 followers. So when it comes to the SofaScore community, you can see that Carroll's quite popular relative to other Charlotte guys.
Well, you know what he does? In fantasy, you have to get points, right, by creating on the pitch.
Yeah. Creating actions that making things happen for sure. And he made it happen. The touch. Do we have that video? Let me call that video up just because it's just so amazing. The toe tap up the line was just absolutely sublime, right?
Westwood sends it into the area for a running Swiderski. Out in front of him, trying to touch it, trying to keep it in, trying to cross in the area. A shot to score! It is Jaylin Lindsay with his first Charlotte FC goal!
Oh my goodness. Speechless from that ball control by Karol Swiderski, tight roping the touchline, somehow kept it in play to dink it back. Jaylin Lindsay, brilliant positioning on that back post to knock it home. Ashley Westwood, though, with another brilliant delivery. He and Karol Swiderski are building that chemistry.
Great work by the Charlotte FC social team and the production team, and obviously Will and Jess, WFNZ as well. We love sharing all of the amazing work that y'all do on this show.
I love that video because of all the fan shots. They show the goal, and they show I love a lot about that video. You see how happy Miriam is for Lindsay. Like you see Miriam like freaking out. Like he's so happy for Jaylin Lindsay. Like how quickly has he integrated into this squad? And then all the fan cutaways they show sort of in the celebration for a Charlotte kid to score his first ever goal for the club. Just insanity.
I think back to Atlanta last year when we saw Jaylin Lindsay up close after the game, after a tough loss. He's hanging with young fans. He's always been a fan favorite. Jaylin Lindsay is, and somebody that connects with the fan base and is a really good role model for kids. He's one of our own.
He's one of our own. The jersey stays tucked in, as Keegan points out. Yeah, Knuckles jersey. You can't untuck that kid. He keeps it too fresh, man, too drip. I like what JPP says. Says so many people don't understand how out of bounds works. The ball has to be all the way out of bounds, not just maybe a fraction of it. And Carroll knew it was in bounds. You notice how Carroll never even there was a long VAR review on that goal, and I was worried because I was like, man, once it goes to VAR, that means they take it away, and I was like, fuck. But then it stood, and Carroll was never down. He's like, can we go? Can we I kept it in bounds. I know it was in bounds. So.
I, from my vantage point, thought it was out of bounds, and it was just a brilliant display of skill, and that's why he's going to play for Poland in this international break, because he's a class player. That and one thing I also wanted to just point out was there's a lot of class all of a sudden when it comes to this squad. When you think about Justin Miriam, Karol Swiderski, and you think about Ashley Westwood, you're starting to think about veteran players who can perform at a high level in front of a big crowd. So let's develop these young kids around them and see what it does for us on the table. Do we have a chance to look at the table this evening?
We do. The table has been updated post Seattle, and we're in 10th place. Not exactly where we want to be, but we're in the mix. I believe this is a playoff team still.
I do too. And if you look really closely at the table there, what you'll see is there's a drop off right after Atlanta United in that 5th position, and Columbus in that 6th position, 28 and 27 and 26, even to Orlando at 7, right? So you kind of have to identify where those drop offs are. And those 3 points that separate both Orlando and DC United in that 7 and 8 spot, I think is an important drop off area, especially because Orlando has 2 games in hand on DC. Columbus has a game in hand as well. Charlotte FC has the same amount of points there. That seems to be kind of where the cutoff line is starting to shape up. I think that we're going to get 5 or 6 teams into the Eastern Conference playoffs pretty easily, which means I think there's going to be 3 spots up for grabs. I think you're talking about a 6 for 3, 6 team for 3 spots type of scenario here.
Yeah, I feel that's right. I agree. Jorge Torres, friend of the show, so got to see him on Saturday working hard, shooting the game, shooting the concourse at halftime, and he points out Montreal, huge win against Minnesota. Minnesota's not the best team out in the West, but they're a team that usually doesn't lose 4-0 to Montreal. So that was a surprise result that kind of popped them above us. Again, they have the game in hand on us too, so they could jump us. I as you know from listening to us last year, we harped on about the games in hand. I'm not a huge fan of like other teams being able to jump us in games in hand because I always assume the worst, that they're going to win big or something like that. But the good news is we play Red Bulls and Montreal next. Those are our next 2 fixtures. And I misspoke earlier. The Red Bulls match is the midweek, then Montreal's a Saturday. So midweek on the road, Saturday at home in 2 weeks. Can't wait. We can put some distance between ourselves and those 2 clubs very nicely with a pair of wins.
Yes, and that's a great call out, and why this table is so important right now is because that 6 team for 3 group that we're talking about is DC United, Montreal, Charlotte, New York Red Bulls, Toronto, NYCFC, Inter Miami, and Chicago Fire. Really, you could go 8 for
Right.
3.
NYCFC might be getting Tati Castellanos back potentially for a few games. And I think Inter Miami might also be bringing in some big transfers.
Look at Inter Miami there. Look at Inter Miami's run of form. That's where Messi is going.
Yeah, it's a Messi down there in Miami for sure.
It's an interesting table. It's interesting to see Cincinnati just absolutely running away with things right now too.
It's insane what the right front office can do for a club. I've said it in a previous episode. They brought in Chris Albright from Philly, and he turned their club around in 2 years. They went from wooden spoon to top of the league, and it's because they brought in the right players. They made a few key moves and did it up. Do you agree with JPP where he says we need at least 4 points for Red Bulls Montreal? I think we need 6. I can live with 4.
At least 4 is probably the right way to say it, but you would love to have 6, but you need at least 4.
Gesslin trying to call me out. I keep saying this is a playoff team, and he says, what point does the club have to get above 500 before we mention playoffs?
After decision day.
Yeah, guess what, Gesslin, I love you, but I'm the one talking, so I'm going to say whatever I want about the playoffs on this team. Great question from Jorge Torres here, and maybe this is where we can end it tonight. Depending on if you want to, but out of curiosity, the mystery 3 players Laddie wants. Latanzio mentioned in a press conference this week, he's spoken to the front office about needing to bring in 3 players in the transfer window. Do you think it's 3 specific players, or do you mean 3 positions there? What are your thoughts on upcoming transfers as we start to get more specific on it?
It's a great question. I think Christian Latanzio talking about some help on the back line for sure. I think he wants to start there. Mm-hmm. And I also think he's interested in a player that maybe could play in that attacking Nuno Santos, Ben Bender type role, that someone could step into that position there, and maybe some depth on the wing as well, and get yourself another attacker on the wing, because Andre Shinyashiki is somebody that you no longer have on the squad as well. So I think specifically he's talking about 2 attacking players and 1 defensive player. Certainly that would be best case scenario. If he's looking for 2 defensive players, I don't hate that, but it just feels like right now front foot transfer is where you want to go.
Yeah, I mean, you're coming off of a match where Lindsay scored his first career goal for the club, and Byrne played his best match ever for the club and had an equalizer assist in the 90th minute. So it's hard to say replace a fullback. That said, I do think this was more of a game. I think even with his goal, I think Lindsay will probably unfortunately be sent back to the bench for Affle at some point. I don't like it, but it happens all the time. So I don't think we necessarily need a fullback. I think we just need to trust Jaylin. I'm all in on Jaylin. I like Affle as a person, but I would play Jaylin until the cows come home, till his legs fall off personally, because he's a youngster that is one of our own. But as Keegan says, we've been talking about a left back for 3 transfer windows now. So we're probably at this point, it's just insanity. We're not going to do it. It's never fun to spend money on a defensive transfer, really. Anyway, right? You just want to get those guys. Just want to, like, plenty of teams in MLS have done just fine getting, Croatian center backs from the Serbian league at minimum price on free transfers that are between 25 and 29 years old. So I think Columbus Crew is about to do that right now. So center backs are always out there.
One other thing I'll add is that Zoran Krneta is a football director, a sporting director that likes to cook. He likes to work. He likes to get deals done. So I would expect him to go out there and get some deals done.
So let me ask you this. I'm going to name a player that will make you laugh. It's out of, but then it speaks to a broader concept of the big splash, because we're going to humor our good Tifos, friend of the show, Brett Thompson, who spent time with us on the pregame party at Hot Fly. Had a hell of a time at Hot Fly. Wiped me out for the entire rest of the night. Like, I barely made it to the. I almost didn't go the full 90 myself because I was just so wiped out from the midday day drinking. But Brett was there, had a great time. Let's humor Brett. Would Zoran Krneta go get Bobby Firmino and bring Firmino to MLS for one last ride and just dominate?
Would he do it? Yes, absolutely, he would do it if he could get the deal done. What did I just say? And he's somebody that likes to make deals. If there's a player out there that he's got the cash to spend on, that would be my big question. It's not about Zoran when it comes to Firmino. It's about David Tepper when it comes to Firmino. At this point,
he could go get Firmino for a fraction of Bryce Young's signing bonus. Come on.
Think about it this way. What Lionel Messi just did in MLS was kind of reset the market.
Now, that's what I'm saying.
Now you've got some players around the world who are potentially lining up for a change and thinking to themselves, what if I just went to the US and got this crazy DP deal, and I did it maybe 2 or 3 years earlier than I normally would have, just because the market's been reset and Messi is in the league, and all of a sudden the World Cup is coming to the United States in 2026, and there's money being spent. All of a sudden you could have some players like a Firmino getting signed by a club like Charlotte FC. You could see Atlanta United. Atlanta United's going to go out and do something in this new, I guess, era of MLS transfers, because the roster rules when it comes to Gam, Cam, thank you, ma'am, and a little bit of DP. When it comes to those roster rules, I think they're getting blown up.
Man, I thought I was the one with all the innuendo jokes on this show. That was well done.
The rules are just right now. You're looking at them and you're saying, like, do they even exist? You saw coaches speaking out, talking about this being totally above board. It's good for MLS. And Lenny C chimes in, and I think this is exactly right. He says our ticket money should be able to finance a quality player. Come on, DT.
We do pay a lot.
And we might all make our money back.
A bottled water last night, bro.
It's fine, dude. We might make all of our money back on that last game against Inter Miami.
Not me. No, this was the best, dude. Some rando. I was walking around. I had an issue getting in the club. My tickets would not come up on my Charlotte FC app, so I had to go to Will Call and get them emailed to me through a different link or whatever. And as I was sorting all that out, I couldn't get in. I was walking around sort of in the concourse, but the pre-concourse before you go in. And 2 guys were walking by on their merry way. And some guy goes, "Hey, man, how much for your ticket?" to Miami. He's like, I heard you got a ticket for sale, man. I was like, hey, thanks for listening to the show, man. You're awesome. You know, like those moments are amazing. Like I try not to be a vain person. I try to have the ego down, but like being recognized by just someone, and I don't need to like stop and have like a big long conversation, but they just like shout me out as they're going about their day and just crossing paths like that is so fun. So
yeah, it was. I was wondering where you were when we got into the supporters bar, and I'm glad that you figured it out. Like maybe Brandon Davis said the same thing happened. Maybe it was a system-wide issue.
Fix your app, man. There were people in line with me, but we all got in, so I can't complain too much.
It's Charlotte Soccer Show. It's been a fun Sunday night live stream. If you're listening to this on the podcast, appreciate you listening to us there. We're definitely going to be back podcasting later this week. It is not a match week, but there's plenty of conversation to be had in and around Charlotte FC in this soccer city. Looking forward to seeing you then, Danny.
Can't wait, man. It's for the crown, baby.